Hello subscribers, this is John, host of the Prepared Mind channel. Before I get into the topic, I want to say I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not offering any advice. I'm just going to do some discussion about money and what I think about it in a shit it's the fan scenario. There's a lot of instances where there's societal collapse or financial collapse and banking collapse. We saw it with Cyprus, and Cyprus was quite a disaster. The banks and the government shut the banking system down. People could not get to their money. We've been conditioned and brainwashed that the bank is the safest place to keep your money. And, that's true to an extent. It's safe in a bank until times are tough, until something bad happens. So when you need money, you won't be able to get it. We're continuing to see examples of money being controlled by banks and governments in a way that is not really good for the people, not for the people who have money in the bank. We've seen problems in Greece. Right now, other parts of the world are just seeing trouble left and right. And I don't know when I'm going to release this video. I'll just release it when it seems like things are getting closer to us needing to take some action. We've got the election coming up, and it's looking like it's going to be Hillary and Trump. And either way, I think we're going to see some banking issues this year, later in the year here. But I want to talk about money and what it is. Money is a physical representation of our efforts. You work, you get money, and you can exchange it. It's a medium of exchange. And I see an example of shit hitting the fan, kind of in a slow motion situation. Like Venezuela. It's been bad for a while down there now. If you've got money, real money, I'm sure you can buy what you need. If you don't have real money, or something of little value, it's not going to buy much at all. To go back in history and see how this has played out, back in the 20s, after World War I, Germans couldn't buy a loaf of bread without handing over literal bricks and bricks of Deutschmarks. The German mark was worthless. People wallpapered their homes with them. They were worthless. Literally, a wheelbarrow of money could buy you a meal. So paper money at times will be worthless. It has no value. So I want to talk about how will you buy things when shit starts hitting the fan? How will you pay for anything you want? If you want to barter with somebody else and trade, how will you do that? Mediums of exchange. So let's talk about what people usually think of as money. Okay? People normally think, well, if things go bad, I'll run down to the bank and I'll get a stack of bills. If you were to walk up to somebody with a stack of hundreds, you're going to end up paying for whatever they have with a $100 bill. First off, they're not going to be certain it's worth anything. It's a piece of paper. It's fiat currency. It's only worth, in an emergency, what someone is willing to give you for it. And if it's a temporary emergency or a serious emergency, you don't know if shit is hitting the fan, you could end up spending thousands of dollars for something you don't really need. And people may not take it. They may think they're counterfeits. So to keep your money in the bank, say the banks don't open, it's completely worthless in the bank. So if you're going to take cash out, and you take out a few $1,000s and some Ben Franklins, what's that going to do for you? It's really not going to do a whole lot in some cases except deprive you of your own wealth. Now, if the world's going to end, what does it matter anyway? But if it's just a serious emergency and there's a chance that the government could recover control, you don't want to leave your money in the bank, nor do you want to take it out and blow it trying to buy a few meals, much the same way Germans did in World War II or pre-World War II. Back when their money was worthless. So again, it's paper money. But if paper money is going to be of value, you may want to have smaller denominations, 20s, 10s, 1s, 5s, because if things are selling, say the power's out, there's been an attack, something, and it appears we're going into a SHTF type mode, using smaller bills to pay for things may work for a while, may be good for you, but you're certainly not going to give away hundreds for a loaf of bread or hundreds for a box of ammo, not when you can just pay with smaller denominations. So I really recommend, if you're going to keep cash, on hand, have small denominations. And the further we get down the road here, the less I like keeping my money in the bank, and the less I like keeping my money, my wealth, in the form of paper currency, because it's only worth what the government says it's worth. And there's a really important lesson that came from the United States back at the same time frame during the Great Depression. The United States government closed the banks and had a bank holiday. And when those banks opened, people's value, their money had been devalued by 50%. They just declared your money worthless as Americans. This has happened again, like I say, in Cyprus. Other countries like Greece have had nothing but trouble. And France and Italy and other nations have been on the verge of having complete and total banking collapses. Where's the United States? It's hard to say. Do you want to take a chance on it? Can you afford to take a chance on it? If you've got $10,000, $20,000, $100,000 in the bank, is it safe there? And if you have more than $50,000 or more than $20,000, do you think the government, in a banking crisis, an emergency, is going to leave your cash there, or will they confiscate it the way they have in other nations? And they've done what's called a bail-in, where the government doesn't use taxpayer dollars to keep the system going. They use cash or deposits. That is your money in the bank to pay their bills. If you leave the money in the bank, it's not yours. It's not yours. And if you leave your money in the form of paper, that is US dollars, the value is not guaranteed. The value is not guaranteed. That is, they could devalue your currency, take half of its worth. So that leaves us with another couple of options when shit hits the fan, whether it's serious or a little bit just starting or somewhere in the middle of it. And that is trading your goods. That's right, your goods. Ammunition, food, clothing. But is that a good idea to trade away? Those are going to be extremely valuable commodities. Do you want to trade away your food when times are uncertain? If you have a little bit of food and someone wants to buy it, what are you going to accept for it? Certainly not paper money. You might accept other things of value. I really believe that ammunition is going to be something, if you've got a lot of it, that's going to have a value that's going to always be there. You can trade ammunition. But what I really like is, for protecting large amounts of wealth, is holding physical silver, physical gold, coinage. If you've got a lot of money and you don't want to just spend it on supplies, shit, it's the fan supplies, what are you going to do with that? You don't want to leave your money in the bank. How do you protect it in uncertain times? If you're worried about your money disappearing in a bank, what are you going to do with it? If you buy stocks on the stock market, those can be devalued. We can have a bubble collapse, right? The stock market can collapse. Your wealth will disappear. If you leave your money in a bank, your wealth can disappear. Under the same circumstances, a collapse, a banking crisis. So how do you protect your wealth? How do you do it? Gold and silver. It's never been worth zero. It always has value. I believe that having silver is the people's coinage, the people's precious metal, and gold is that of the merchants. To give you an example, a silver coin, 1 ounce, is worth about $15. Gold is worth about $1,200 an ounce. So you can see it's quite a bit more valuable, and you're not going to have as much of it if you want to invest. But it's all up to you how you want to keep your wealth protected in a precious metal. On the left here, these are 1 ounce coins. These are privately minted. And it's 0.999 fine silver. That is a 1 ounce coin. It's known as a round. And you can buy them at any precious metal shop. A lot of pawn shops will carry coins. And you'll pay spot price. That is whatever the market price is on the stock market. So $15, you'll probably pay $1 or $1.50 per coin on top of that. Basically, it's the fee that the gold guy gets. These coins here are silver eagles, and they are produced by the U.S. Mint. These are minted by your government. Don't think the government doesn't know how to mint coins that are made out of real precious metal. And these cost a little more. You'll pay spot price, but rather than pay that $1 fee, you'll pay $2, up to $3.50 a coin. It's up to the dealer and what they decide that they want to make. And I recommend if you're going to buy silver or gold that you shop around. Everyone will pay, or you'll pay spot price everywhere, but whatever their fee is. But to give you an idea of how this comes, these coins come in little boxes. The ones done by the U.S. Mint have a seal on here from the Treasury. But I possess this silver in my hand. It's always going to be worth silver. The price may go up and it may go down on the stock market. And I can buy low and sell high. I can buy and hold it. And it's all cash. It's all cash. It is not taxable. Right? The government cannot come knock on my door and demand a percentage of what I have. At the bank, they can take it all. They can take half of it. They can demand fees. But when you own your own money, this is real money. When you own your own money, it's yours. It cannot be taken from you, except by force, of course. And if you're going to buy something, let's say shit hits the fan, you're going to be able to buy. You're going to have real buying power with silver and with gold, of course. People would be more inclined to sell you something they have that's of value if you've got something that's precious and real. That's a real bargaining chip. So for me, this works two ways. Having precious metal on hand, owning it myself, physical silver, physical gold, not certificates and not stocks, nothing, no futures. It is far more valuable than cash because it will always have real value. And with the market looking as uncertain as it is, we see one little collapse, one little bubble pop. And we have a prediction that we've got a huge amount of overvalued stock on Wall Street. The economy has really sucked this year. It has not recovered. It is no better than it was at the beginning of the year. Obama's had 8 years of spending your hard-earned money, taking it in the form of taxes from you and giving it to the investment industry, business, in the form of quantitative easing, and we've got nothing for it. So my money right here in front of you, this is an example of what I do with extra cash. This is mine. I can trade it when shit hits the fan. If the market goes bad, the country's in trouble and turmoil for 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, and say that shit does not ultimately hit the fan and the nation just goes into a state of turmoil for a month or 2 or 3 or 4, who knows how long. When it comes out, this stuff over here, this, it may not be real at all. It may be completely worthless as paper. It may be devalued by half. But this silver here will always be silver, and gold will always be gold. So once again, I recommend, just as a human being, just as a thinker, consider, if you're going to keep your money in a bank, know the risks. If you're going to have silver and gold on hand, know the risks. It costs a little bit to buy, but it's a great hedge. It's a great way to protect yourself. It's a great way to protect your wealth. In shit hits the fan, it can be a valuable commodity to trade. And in uncertain times, it's certainly a way to keep your wealth on hand and ensure it has value. Ensure it has value. If you're going to keep cash on hand for spending in shit hits the fan because you do not trust the banking system, you do not trust the government, I highly recommend keeping small denominations, small bills. If you've got $1,000 in 1s and 5s and 10s and 20s, or a couple thousand, that could be handy in case they shut the banks down for a week or 2. But keeping $100 bills, I don't think that's a smooth idea. I think $100 bills is something that can disappear and evaporate. I mean, really, would you spend $100 on a loaf of bread? But if you've got those and the person that you're buying bread from doesn't have change, you're going to cough up an entire bill in order for that loaf of bread to become yours. Now, silver also comes in smaller denominations. These are all 1 ounce gold or 1 ounce coins here. Like I said, the silver eagles have a little more value because they're minted by the government, and there's a lot of private mints, and they just sell rounds that are 1 ounce. It's the same silver, same value on the market. It's just these are a little more desirable, a little more trusted. There's also Canadian maple leafs, 1 ounce silver. Canada, you can get from their mint. There's a lot of options as far as protecting your wealth. Hedging your bet. If you've heard of investing and you know about hedging, precious metals are a good way to hedge. That is to say, they go up and down with the value of the market. But if the market were to collapse, and this always seems to happen when we have an uncertain, unstable market with a lot of volatility, precious metals, gold and silver, always go up and skyrocket. Skyrocket. So if you think the market is slipping, if you think it's a dangerous time to keep cash in the bank, I recommend going this route if you're a prepper. Yeah, if you're not, I don't know. Anyways, this is what it's about protecting your family, protecting yourself, protecting your property, and if you've got it, protecting your wealth. Because the banks are not a safe place. Wall Street is not a safe place. American currency can be changed or fail at any time, and it's been done in nations past and also in the United States in the past. This is John, host of the Prepared Mind channel, saying I'm glad you watched, and hopefully I'll get this thing out someday and it'll be of value and assistance to everybody. Okay, have a good night.